Good morning. Welcome in Daily UPSC editorial audio program. Safety but how? The Times of India. It is time to fix the UPSC selection process. The Hindu. Healthy sign. Now the full editorial. Safety but how? Implementing security checks for masses of Chinese electronic products will be a tough ask. Times of India editorial. By expanding its trusted source mandate, New Delhi is considering security checks for Chinese products like smart meters, parking sensors, drone parts, and even laptop and PCs. The trigger for the move is clearly the Pazer walkie-talkie attacks Israel launched against Hezbollah in Lebanon, which exposed supply chain vulnerabilities in a globalized world. While that incident involved violence to further geopolitical ends, India has been increasingly concerned concerned about the security risk posed by imported Chinese equipment. Earlier this year, it notified rules for CCTVs that seek to test such equipment sold in India on essential security parameters. A global issue that that such concerns are that such concerns are warranted. That such concerns are warranted is not in doubt, given the Chinese state's power risk like ransomware attack and data breaches. Besides hacking and penetration that compromise important utilities infra posed by Chinese companies are real. Recently, U.S. Congressional committees warned that China's JPMC installed intelligence gathering equipment on cranes used at seaports across U.S. could allow Beijing to cripple key infra. U.S. has held that telecom equipment from Huawei and ZTE pose grave risk to its national security. Huawei has also been deemed a security risk by several other countries, including India, which left out the company at company and ZTE from its 5G trials. China matters, but given China's critical place in global supply chains, Government of India will need to weigh the consideration of safety against disruptions before it mandates such security checks. For besides Chinese products, the components made in China are essential to many Indian products used in the country and sold abroad as our exports. For instance, we may have become the world's second largest mobile phone manufacturer, but only 15% of value add for the product is indigenous, with China accounting for many vital components. There is also the question of doability of security checks when it comes to mass items like laptops and PCs, since Chinese companies enjoy a large share of Indian market. Just as significant, even many non-Chinese powerhouses make their products in that country. How much China matters was evident after India's move to impose restrictions on laptop imports last August. In months before that curve, about 76% of our laptop imports came from China, but in months following its revocation, the share went up to 87.5%. So while the threat of Chinese devices having a backdoor is real, how Government of India will implement its plan without impacting consumers, market, and the economy remains uncertain. It is time to fix the UPSC selection process. The Hindu. India has a huge task at hand in restoring the image of the civil service. Ashok Thakur, former Education Secretary, Government of India, image of the Union Public Service Commission and of the Indian Administrative Service has taken a serious beating ever since the Pooja Khedkar episode came to light. Mr. Khedkar, Ms. Khedkar has unwittingly exposed the chinks or rather the gaping holes in the system when seen along with the National Eligibility Cum Entrance Test NEET fiasco. It becomes clear that India has a huge task at hand in restoring the image of the civil services institutions of higher learning as well as the organizations responsible for these national level selections. Gaping holes. While the NEET controversies was a one-time mismanagement of an exam paper, the UPSC case has serious long-term implications for not only the creamy layer concept in other backward classes OBC reservations, but also for reservations for economically weaker sections (EWS), which were started a few years ago. For both these categories, people need to submit income certificate issued by the Tehsildar. This process has come under severe criticism in this case, while there have also been complaints of candidates fraudulently po- uh, posing as scheduled caste and scheduled tribe members. These can be verified on the ground. However, this is not the case with the EWS or the OBC quota system, as well as the disability category, which can all be gamed. On the income issue, there is still no clarity on whether the candidate's income or the candidate's father income is to be considered. Also, let us say a man gets into the Indian Revenue Service under the OBC EWS category and later reapplies for the UPSC exam because he wants to get into the IS. His income has crossed the threshold in the interim period. What happens then? If income is dynamic, how can a one-time snapshot of a person's economic status be accepted indefinitely? In our experience, once the status of a person is established by certificate, it is neither reported differently by the applicant nor it is varied by the authorities concerned. In many cases, we have seen candidates failing to clear the exam for the first time and then clearing it with an EWS certificate. To make matters worse, the Tehsildar who is charged with the responsibility of issuing the income certificate has no wherewithal or credential to actually do so. They only issue it because, as some may argue, this is how it has always been done. If a candidate's OBC father is rich and owns companies worth of money but does not pay personal income tax, there is no way the Tehsildar can get to him. Despite all these questions and problems, there have been no attempts to update the rules on income and disability. Neither has there been any scrutiny of the cases. The rules and procedures do not have legs to stand on, but no one challenges them for fear of opening a can of worms. They invariably look the other way and, in some cases, even make hay while the sun shines. We both spent several years in the ministry, but we did not have a single case referred to us by institutions seeking clarifications, nor were any seemingly dubious cases brought to our notice. What we see today is therefore just the tip of the iceberg. It will not be surprising if many such cases tumble out not only from the civil service closes but also from India's premier higher education institutions. Unfortunately, India does not have a proactive system of scrutiny. There is a scrutiny only when someone registers a complaint. Add to this the rampant Sifaris request culture, and we have a fair is foul, foul is fair syndrome, a nightmare even for best of our ambassadors. The way forward could more transparency at every stage using technology be the antidote. Had this been done in Ms. Khedka's case, she would not have managed to sit for the UPSC exam 12 times. However, it is a fact that even a secure system such as the Aadhaar can be gamed. In 2018, for instance, fake biometric data were used to generate Aadhaar numbers to fraudulently claim subsidies on LPGs and other welfare schemes. What then is the solution? To begin with, the government needs to issue clear instructions on both income and disability, which are applicable throughout the country irrespective of state, ministry or sectors. If, if need be, bodies could be set up with eminent persons or institutions to help the government reach a consensus on these issues. We need a robust system of verification. We need to adopt practices which are forward-looking and compatible with the times, especially in the disability category. And we need to use advanced technology to combat fraud. We also need some honest thinking on several scores. The Department of Personnel and Technology must explain the rationale for allowing mental disability within the disability quota for civil services, which requires serious and consistent application of mind. It is also unclear why the examination has no aptitude test unlike the defense services. We need to impose serious penalties on officers and doctors who clarify people wrongly without doing due diligence. The courts play an important role here. When one wrong person is selected for the services, another deserving candidate is denied their rightful place in the government. The civil services are no place for self-seekers who have no interest in serving the nation and who only clear the exam to enjoy the perks that come with the services, such as a chauffeur-driven car. It is high time we made changes at the procedural and structural levels. Healthy sign: turnout numbers in the assembly polls show district patterns in South Kashmir. One of the salubrious stories of Indian democracy has always been the regular and uninterrupted conduct of general and assembly elections across provinces. Jammu and Kashmir was an aberration with no assembly elections, which should have been held 5 years ago. Thankfully, this denial of the key democratic process came to an end after three phases of elections were held across the Union territory and provisionally 63.5% of the electorate turned up to vote. This number is marginally lower than the 65.7% registered in the 2014 assembly polls, excluding Ladakh. The numbers could go up, but the marginal drop should be contextualized. The turnout in 2014 was a peak ever since the militancy that began in 1987, which had dampened